It is a bonus stream, my friend. Just doing some last moment checks and we're going to go live. Hope you can hear me and hear the music. You can confirm, that'll let me know and we can get going. Got hello. Welcome back. My name is Mac. I am the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist, and we are live with a very fun bonus stream to celebrate and kind of ring in the fact that Dungeon Alchemist is on sale. I am very excited about that. So, like often, but we are on sale for the spring Steam spring sale. Sorry, that's a mouthful. And very honored to be able to participate and be a part of it. How's everyone doing today? I'm wonderful, Mondu. Thank you for asking. We are multi-streaming right now, by the way, on multiple platforms. So we are live on Twitch. We are live on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Steam, everywhere. So if any of you have any questions, feel free to let me know in chat and I will do my best to address them. Oh, so I caught you writing a long set of notes for your next session. Nice. I'm sure you'd rather hang out than do session prep, of course, right? Absolutely. Let's talk about it. How many of you have done your session prep this week, or have begun, kind of planning or prepping for your next session in some way? Are you kind of planning on your head? Do you have notes? Have you started making maps and NPCs and stuff like that? By the way, Steam, I just want to say welcome to the stream. See, there's a few of you watching. If you want to join in the chat, hit that open chat icon in the little chat bar there, or the little stream bar, and that will allow you to ask questions. If you have any questions, I'd love to address them. Think of this stream as AMA format, which means ask me anything. So if you have any questions related to Dungeon Alchemist, what is it? What are we looking at? What is it for? How can I use it? Things like that, let me know, and I will do my best to address your concerns. But out the rip, I will just say that Dungeon Alchemist is a map-making utility for primarily a fantasy-themed TTRPG kind of aesthetic. So games like D&D, Pathfinder, stuff like that. With Dungeon Alchemist, it allows you to build very beautifully detailed maps that you can kind of put in all sorts of angles and details in 3D, and then you export them in a top-down format. Hey Ninja, how you doing, bud? You can export them in a top-down flattened, top-down 3D perspective, as well as we offer camera tools like the cinematic camera, like a drone camera, so you can fly through the map and record it, or grab screenshots, walkthroughs, etc. That's smart. That's smart, Mondu. What you up to, Ninja? How'll be life? Page 79, goodness. That'd be smart, actually, like a Google Doc for my player group, because we're starting to run into a lot of different people. Be good to keep notes on, like, who we've interacted with, who knows them, and how, like key plot points. Counting the minutes until 5 p.m. tomorrow. Dang. Quite a shift, my friend. I am wonderful. Basically, I was alerted to the Steam sale a couple of days ago by Wim, one of our lead developers and the creator of Dungeon Alchemist. And I started kind of prepping mentally and him and I coordinated on graphics for like the launch of the sale and started kind of working up drafts of, posts and stuff like that. And I essentially did the kind of social blast earlier this morning, alerting everyone to the sale as soon as the sale went live. But during the sales, typically I love to offer a couple of bonus streams because I know that a lot of new people enter our community during the sale, and I like to offer a space for them to get their questions answered or addressed while they're shopping, or if they just barely got it, they can learn a lot in a small window. Nice, Mondu. I'm doing good, Ninja. I'm doing good. I honestly could be better, though. I think I'm just kind of. I don't know. I've not slept well for like the last week and a half because of just so much traffic through my neighborhood, bypass traffic from construction, like in an area nearby. So it's just been killing me. Just hate it. Oh my gosh, this is so detailed. I love this little pirate hideout. So, ship enters, you've got, like shipping and receiving here where they can scoop up all the goods on cranes. Wondering if people could use that as like a quick zip line or to send like down like a water or like mail or something. So one thing I like to remind myself when it comes to Steam sales is like often I'll have games on my wish list, and those are really the only games I end up buying, because I'll see a lot of games on the Steam sale that like, oh wow, that's cool, I'll get it. It's only $1. Oh, it's only $5. But more often than not, I never really play that, and I know that's hypocritical of me being here talking about us on the Steam sale. I'll be honest with you though, I really only try to get the things I like have a use for. Yeah, my backlog got impressive for a while, and especially in my 20s, I just was buying games all the time. Now I really only buy the ones I'm like gonna need or have an interest in. And by a need, I mean like a tool or a utility or something like that. Be wary, my friend. Oh, that's cool. I love this salt. That's neat. What kind of traps would you set up for your players in this kind of columbarium slash vault treasure? Love to hear it. The bones are their money, so are their worms. Good question, Baggy Dude. So, Baggy Dude over on Twitch asks, when y'all getting out of early access? I think that's a very valid question and a concern, that some might have. When I had joined the team, we kind of had a goal where we would leave early access, which we have surpassed, unfortunately. And I think that's due in part to, sometimes things are a little bit more challenging than you anticipate in development. Sometimes you're forced to make changes in development to accommodate to things you didn't anticipate. And also, we have added quite a few features that community members have requested that weren't really part of our initial roadmap. So, like one major delay we had, for instance, was we hit a roadblock in our development where we actually hit the overall like limit of objects you could have in a single instance of Unity. So any object beyond that point would show up invisible and you couldn't find them anymore. And apparently that doesn't normally happen in video game development. Because when you build a video game, every video game is a huge amount of content, but it's split into levels or stages, scenes, right? In Dungeon Alchemist, you don't really have stages or scenes besides individual maps, but in every single map, you have access to every single object in our tool set. Every wall, every floor, every window, every door, and then all the objects in the object menu, the token menu, start downloading objects from the workshop. It adds up pretty quick, right? So we found this bug. Well, I found it when I was testing in the dev build. I was like, a lot of my objects are invisible. Anyone know why? Come to find out, the instance of Unity we were in had a limit as to how many objects it could be. Normally, in a video game development, you wouldn't run into this because in a level, you limit how many objects are in that level. So you really wouldn't hit that limit often, right? So essentially, we hit that wall. We had to upgrade our instance of Unity. Migrating to a newer version of Unity took several months of testing and work. And then now we probably will never hit a limit. It's like trillions of objects is the next limit. Anyway, so Baggy Dude, to kind of add to that, like for instance, our next update is adding multi-level and roofing, things we never planned to add in Dungeon Alchemist, but our community wants it, so we have accommodated to that. So it's a little bit of feature creep, but it's also to accommodate to the many, many, many people in our community who have demanded it. So it's a combo factor, Our devs are perfectionists. They really like getting everything right and making sure it's delivered in a high quality state. They don't like releasing updates with tons of bugs and needs tons of patches and crashes all the time. You know what I mean? So an update will more than likely, be delayed because of that too. So I'd say at this point we're like about a year and a half behind schedule, but every update that's been released has included far more content than promised, and features, quality of life improvements, stuff like that. So I think while we may be a little bit behind schedule, and that's kind of one of the only promises we've really broken, we far exceed every other promise we've made, and so I don't know. From a standpoint of business, while we're a little bit behind, which projects get delayed, sometimes games get delayed, building a bridge, it gets delayed, things happen. But I think overall, where we're at and the status of Dungeon Alchemist in early access, it's quite solid. I get people constantly saying, hey, why don't you have this feature that's like a core feature in other tools? Well, I'll be honest, we're still in early access. We're kind of slowly adding these things as we test them. Hey, Cam over on TikTok asks, when the multi-floor update comes out, can all the floors be exported seamlessly to VTTs like Foundry? That's a very good question, Cam. Yes. So every floor, when you export, will export as a separate file, a separate image or video, depending on how you export for Foundry. So let's say you export, you have 5 floors on a tower, right? Every one of those floors will be a separate kind of new map slice, vertical top down, that is a separate image or video with its associated JSON file. And then in Foundry, you would set those up as each of those levels as a scene. Floor 1 is a scene, floor 2 is a scene. And essentially, you can use like modules in Foundry or plugins or anything like that in your virtual tabletop of choice that can quickly transition your players between those spaces. So essentially, if you had like a staircase or a ladder or an elevator or something and they get to it, it'll automatically teleport them to the next scene. Or, I mean, you could, once they get to that point, just move them as a group to the next scene. Oh no, Mondu. I hope that answers your question there, Cam. By the way, would anyone like to see some previews of the next update? I'm sure it can show. I mean, during these bonus streams, we could show a few things. I'm sure a lot of people are interested. Some of you may have already seen what I've shared. Some of you may not have seen it. Okay, let me find it. I love that we're getting some cool, like, kind of gambling type assets, so you could kind of make like a fun little casino. They're not real, they just kind of look like they do something. I don't know, maybe it's a different number every time. Seems like it. I gotta ask Wim on that, if that is actually RNG. Great, we just made a gambling game. You know what happens too, as soon as you have an effective gambling mechanism in your video games, your players are never gonna not want to do anything but that. You know that, right? Like, look at games like GTA and Red Dead. There's an entire, like, group of people that all they do is hit up the casinos and the tables in those games. Because it's just a neat, like, immersive experience for them. The last session I was in as a player this Sunday, we actually we found an underground casino that's being ran by like a crime boss, and there was a few tables, you know, to gamble on, but one of the main like attractions was the test of might, where you have people arm wrestling each other, and on either end of the table is a big pile of like candles that are lit, and they're just melty wax and candles everywhere. So it's like, if you start going down to your side, getting pushed down in the arm wrestle, your hand's gonna get burnt and it's gonna get shoved into all of it, right? So it's kind of, oh, you lose, you get kind of a scar or whatever, and then you lose the bet. So anyway, we kind of used that to our advantage. You know, a couple of our players that were stronger won some good rolls there. One of our stronger players actually didn't do too good on his rolls, but the other one got a crit, won a couple of times. And then I, as a halfling, decided to take on the pit boss, who was a fire giant, in the saddest attempt at winning an arm wrestle contest ever. And I just kept trying to win with my lucky rolls. Until, unfortunately, you know, I did not win. It was sad. But he gave me some information I needed, and then we ended up kind of moving on with the story. I like this little spinning kind of thing. It has, like, a bunch of different kind of, I don't know what you would call them, like tarot symbols or whatever. Kind of neat. Isn't that a cool one, Mosey? In this clip, you actually see a couple of things that are interesting. So one is this spotlight tool, which is kind of, you know, you can move it around, rotate it, change its color, change the brightness. But when you export, the spotlight housing is invisible, but the light it sheds is still present in the build. So it's a good way to kind of like draw attention to things or add mood lighting, etc. Or they win all the coins, way more coins than you want them to. But there's one type of abstract light that is a spotlight, and the other one's more like a lamp, so it casts more of a wider light pattern. Hey, TikTok, thank you for all the likes. Much appreciated, much appreciated. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, there's a ship here. They're experimenting with behind the scenes with a kind of shipbuilding, kind of modular shipbuilding tool. At one point in our development, we have in the future, we have a update titled High Seas, which we will have a very intuitive, like in-depth shipbuilding tool that has been internally called the shipyard. And it'll allow you to build all sorts of different ships. I'm hoping a combination of not only just sailing ships, but airships and possibly like astral ships. So you can have all sorts of different things, different styles and the like. My hope is ideally you'd be able to build a ship save it, name it and save it, and then you could use it locally in your own maps, move it from map to map because it's like an object. Or you can even share it on the workshop and others can download it and use it as like a basis to build their own or just use it if they like it. Yeah, the spotlights are going to be great for sure. Any questions on the spotlights or shipyard stuff? I think you'll get a small taste of the shipbuilder in the next update, but it'll only be like a very early version of it because it'll be essentially the modular objects tool and a bunch of ship parts. But yeah, the illumination potential that these new abstract lights offer are great. It's just like an invisible light source. Yar har fiddle dee dee. Uh-oh. Elgato crashed for a second. So this is the Oregon accumulator, which actually is like a bunch of like silly hocus pocus. I guess this guy patented this box that you could get in and it would like help you get healthier or something. I don't know. It was like a snake oil type thing, and there's a bunch of controversy around it and the creator. But we're just adding all these weird objects and occult type objects, so that was kind of something that they added. Anyway, not necessarily one of my favorite ads as the community manager. I usually have to try and explain that stuff. This is one of my favorite new objects, the portable hull. It's not a portable hull in the sense of like a traditional 5e object. I think this is more like a portable doorway, because you could put it on the wall, put it on the ground, and then objects can pass through it. You can see through it. Right, exactly, Lexecutioner. I don't know. I may petition the devs to just change it altogether just to be something else. Because it just seems like a really questionable thing. The Oregon accumulator. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know. I kind of act like a little bit of a like an early tester slash looking for anything that is like not very PC or PR friendly. So I essentially am always on the lookout, especially if community feedback on that is like, yeah, that's a little awkward. They might actually... Oh, that'd be interesting. I mean, you could put some tentacles coming out of it if you wanted to, out of this. Out of the portable hull. I think it's just a neat addition to add to like almost any room, But every clip I've shown you so far is just all sorts of objects that'll be in the new update. Lots of neat new stuff coming out. Here's one of our more recent clips. So there's like the new modular object tool. We wanted to give you lots of things to use it with. So not just like the old pipes and old rails, but we've added a few new things. Like I said, the ship and this stuff. So you can kind of make all these neat little Wonka type steampunk things. And they all kind of have actions and move and fill up and interact. Look at the gauge actually goes up and down. It's neat. I love it. This will be a very fun addition in the next update for sure. You could have like a whole like pneumatic mail system or weird lab or some kind of steampunk type thing. You know, you could have all sorts of weirdness with this. It would be really fun. But notice how he's just clicking pieces and it's attaching them right away. Clicks a piece, attach. Excuse me. Very cool. Honestly, I mean, it is kind of mad scientist, and there's kind of just a weird background to it, is all. I didn't think you were criticizing it. You were, I mean, mainly pointing out like exactly what it is. Anyway, how you doing today, Lex? Let us see. What's another cool one that I do? House in a teapot. Why not? That'll be fun. Of course, I'm sure many of you are excited for multi-level. You'll be able to essentially build structures on top of each other as the same shape or different shapes. Like this looks like a nice little 4-story apartment complex. At this point, the AI, the proc gen AI for this build didn't have like stairs or ladders in it, so it wasn't generating them. But it should be doing that now for the most part. We have to go through and kind of reprogram every single room. By the way, when I talk about AI in Dungeon Alchemist, I just want to take a moment to kind of educate the community and people watching. No part of Dungeon Alchemist AI is next gen or generative AI, like like you would be something like Chat GPT or Mid Journey or anything like that. Copilot. Dungeon Alchemist is nothing like that. It's very last gen AI, and in fact, we started developing the AI for DA way before any of the modern craze of AI came out. And it's what's called procedural gen AI. It's proc gen for short. And proc gen AI is essentially kind of algorithmic. And at no point in the the programming or the arts or training of the rooms and map making AI was any public art or assets or maps or data used to train it. So it was developed entirely in-house. All the art and assets you see in these buildings was made by our talented team of artists. I think as far as AI is concerned, it's about as ethical and forward-thinking as you can get, because it saves you time with your map making, allowing you to, not put as much time into session prep, but more time into gameplay. So, in my opinion, and I know that's a little biased as the community manager for the product, I think, though, we have taken a very ethical approach to AI development. Steampunk pirates? That would be cool, Mosey. Whenever, like, a lot of people think of airships and stuff in, like, fantasy games, and they always go to think of, like, arcane engines and kind of weird-looking things that are all magical. I always go to think of, like, steampunk engines for flying airships. Oh, I bet, Lex. I bet. I honestly, like, our community's like maps and all the stuff they share always gives me so much motivation, but seeing the clips from development that they're sharing from behind the curtain, stuff like this, is very exciting. TikTok, thank you so much for all the likes. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Give you a little thumbs up. Hmm. check out some other new features in the update. We've got a new kind of room type being introduced. Not so much a room type, I guess it's like an outdoor generation type, but crop beds. So, a bunch of different vegetable options, and the crops will generate automatically based on the size and the shape of it. But very quick way to just generate crops for, small farms or gardens. All done with procedural AI. Procedural Gen AI programmed entirely in-house by whim. One person. He's been basically configuring all the room AIs for the new update by hand because there's so much depreciated and updated assets. Can't wait for these, though. These will be very fun. Oh, thank you, Atlam. It is a big deal. I'm very excited for us. Does the update drop? I'm assuming, is there a date for when the update drops? Is that what you're asking? The NY? Currently, the best estimation I can give you is Q2 2025. We don't really have a fine-tuned window of release yet. So sometime in that, 3-month period is the most likely I can give you at the moment. I wish I had a week or even a date to set, but I think the devs are being cautious on the release window at this time because they want to make sure that this update has everything done in it correct. No worries, my friend. What's up, Atlam? Do 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 do. I would assume you could shape the bed, just like you can shape any rooms. So circular, angled, all sorts of stuff. Because notice when he goes to generate the plant bed, the circles are still there on the corners. These ones right here. These are the shaping dots, the little pips there on the corner. Pips. You grab those and you can pull it in to make it round or have like a, convex or concave bite, and then pull it to the side to make it your polygon shape. But it looks like that is the case, It'll act like the floor shape or the room shaping tool. It's just, instead of generating it with a wall, it just has these like railroad ties on the edge. You know what I mean? Oh, no worries, NY. I get it. And if you're walking in New York, then it's probably not very safe, so definitely be careful. And by that, I mean to walk and, look at your phone. You gotta watch out for traffic, other people, all sorts of stuff. It's kind of neat, as it's kind of one of the first, exterior-only type room types. So, our group has some downtime between our next sessions because we just pulled off a heist and stole this ledger from a corrupt a corrupt bookkeeper, and basically for the opposing crime syndicate or whatever. And after we stole it, we went back to base and we hid out. And the boss there is telling us we need to lay low for a couple of days. To which point we're like, okay, so we just have some downtime and some crafting or shopping or whatever, kind of pull stuff from our armory. And so essentially, we've been kind of just sitting there trying to figure out what to do. And I did my downtime rolls for my portent. And I kid you not, this is the craziest thing in my life. I got double 20 portents. I was sitting with my son. We were talking about the game. And I said, I had my sheet pulled up on D&D Beyond. And I was like, hey, should I just roll my portents for fun? He's like, yeah, go for it. I rolled it, and I have some dice that the face on it, I thought it was ones at first. I thought I got double ones. And I was like, oh, double ones, that's pretty cool. It was actually double 20s. It's in the roll log. I screenshot it to share with my DM because I was like so freaking out. And it was my only roll. It wasn't like I did hundreds of them. So currently, really adding roofing is something done entirely by hand. So this video you're seeing here is essentially a teaser from our next update where we're adding roofing, ceilings, stuff like that. If you want to add roofing and stuff like that now, you do it by hand using objects from the object menu. Excuse me. So the second I rolled this, I screenshot it and sent it to my DM because I was in shock that I got double 20s on my portent rolls. And if you're not familiar with that, so I'm a divination wizard in my, in the campaign I'm playing in, and that allows you to have this skill called portent. You can roll 2 20s per day, and the numbers on them, essentially you can use them to your advantage or maybe the enemy's disadvantage. So those 20s means I got 2 crit rolls guaranteed. I could use them for crafting or, whatever. 2 nat 1s would be just as useful, yes, because you could guarantee an enemy fails. Maybe, or you're negotiating with someone and then they fail the negotiation. So essentially, you can use nat 1s just as powerfully as you can use 20s. Very cool. I actually really like it. The portent ability is very powerful. I was just shocked because the first time I ever got double 20s in my life was with a portent roll. So, Meow, if you want to add roofing, say, in your own builds, here, I'll show you. Let me show you in one that I've done kind of by hand. When someone's name is like a name of the sound an animal makes, it always makes me seem like I'm crazy when I say their name. I'm all like, meow! This is how you put a roof on the building. Moo! Let's talk about... So, I've built my character, Lex, around luck and, just manipulating the odds in my favor. I have Divination as a wizard. I have the lucky feat in my, setup, so I have those lucky rolls. I have Guidance, because I actually started as an Artificer and then multi-classed into Wizard. I have Silvery Barbs, I have Shield, I have all these things to make sure I don't get hit, or to, change the outcome in my favor. So this build right here, I built entirely by hand in, a build of Dungeon Alchemist that no longer exists anymore. It was prior to the Magic update. So this is a circular tower built entirely by hand, and it's 4 stories. And every story, it's functional. You can walk through it with a token, and you can pull it apart, kind of like Lego or a dollhouse. Check this out. If I disable collisions, this roof here is an object on the workshop. Mrs. Mac, my wife, she sculpted this for me. I gave her some kind of guidance, a little sketch, and told her what I wanted, and she made it for me. And anyway, it's perfect for this build. It may not work for everyone. It could be work good for a decrepit place that's fallen apart, or another observatory type build. But anyway, moving on. Move the roof to the side, you can see floor 4. I made sure everything on floor 4, all the objects, were actually on top of the floor in this room, so I could move that. Same with floor 3, same with floor 2. It can pull apart, and you can access every bit of it. It's pretty neat. So, I call that character build, my son named it. It's called the Lucknomancer. So essentially, you just have tons of luck, right? But because I started as an artificer, I have proficiency with shields and medium armor, a bunch of different weapons. I have, a prepared spell list, some extra cantrips. Because I am now wizard going forward, I will get a very expansive spell list, some really cool abilities. I don't know. It's pretty neat. Doing kind of some interesting plays. But we're thinking of taking those double 20s, right? Those portents. Because we were at this gambling hall. We robbed it. But one of our crew is a changeling, my son. So he is a changeling. And he has the disguise kit proficiency. And he has the Mask of Many Faces ability, too. So he can just, change his appearance at will. Pretty much in a bunch of different ways. Spirit Cool. The maps you make in Dungeon Alchemist are maps you can use for tabletop gaming or for immersive handouts. I mean, you can just build for fun. I wouldn't tell anyone they couldn't. I enjoy building for fun. It's kind of cathartic in a way. Very relaxing to just build maps. But the maps are designed to be, exported in a top-down fashion for games like D&D, Pathfinder, essentially TTRPGs in the fantasy aesthetic or a Western or steampunk, kind of in all those arenas. So it is for games, yes, in a way. So it's a map-making tool and an immersion utility for tabletop games. Our maps export to a variety of different, in a variety of different methods. They can be exported for print. They can be exported as a digital file like a JPEG or a video file like an MP4 or a WebM. So you could take a JPEG or a WebM and you can play it on a TV tabletop at home if you play like Dungeons and Dragons at home with your friends, or a projector tabletop. Alternatively, you can export digital files for use for online gameplay tools, virtual tabletops such as Roll20, Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Above VTT, and a bunch of others. Essentially, it is a very universal tool, system agnostic, and very versatile. You can generate entire environments in moments, or you can build heavily detailed maps by hand. Yeah, Lex, I took a lot of care when I was building this map to make sure each level was basically designed to be pulled away as a single piece. The method I used is all the objects, the walls, everything in this room is situated on top of this piece of flooring. So I built the entire room on this, and then I lifted it up and snapped it in place like a crane, basically. It's pretty cool at the end of the day. Here's the bathroom, bedroom, kind of storage area. Little wash station, bathtub, bed. There's my puppy, Seymour. We're lucky he may visit us later. Got, some of his adventuring gear, some dressers, some loot. These floors and the staircases and banisters, except for maybe this one staircase here, was all made by a community member named Swedish Cook. And I kind of coordinated with him while I was building this. He made the flooring and then uploaded it to the workshop so anyone can download these floors and banisters and use them in their own builds. I'll show you those in a moment. But here we've got a library, kind of study slash, I guess, an area for, making all those little potions and spell scrolls and whatnot. And then down to the bottom floor here, we have the hearth, kitchen kind of entry area. So food storage, cooking, dishes, extra liquid and dry goods, table, little entry area that's gated off. And then there's a hatch you can see here, actually, escape hatch that's hidden. And I kind of put a little tunnel over here that acts like the escape hatch. But I call this the Wizard's Respite, and it's a wizard kind of found this place in the middle of nowhere, and it's in the middle of a vast forest. He kind of cleared out this area and made it into his private little sanctuary. How do you do cinematic? Let me show you. So we have several camera tools. You can go into top-down, 3D, or free-floating camera while you're building. But you can also grab the cinematic camera, which acts like a drone, right? So you can fly through your maps, get neat shots. I actually really love going into maps kind of like this sometimes and getting kind of fun shots like this. When you're low to the ground, you end up getting some interesting immersive shots. Where's the moon? I'm gonna find it. Oh, there it is. That's another good shot too. Find the moon. Always a win. Players will love it. Something like this. Anyway, you could take a screenshot like this or record. You notice F or R at the top. So you can record or screenshot right inside the tool. It saves it. These clips can be used for like a long rest scene or a handout. I've seen DMs that'll fly over maps. Oh, one moment. Pat's been napping on the chair next to me. I think I woke him up from all the talking. So this camera, you can, walk around cinematic like that. Alternatively, tokens, if you drop a token in the map, you can click on this eyeball, the icon as I call it, and walk around in first person to record or take screenshots, or you could even stream this to your players over like Discord or Zoom. Of course, Spiricool. Anyone in our community can share their maps, can share their videos of their campaigns, can stream stuff like this, stream their map making, stream their campaigns. We totally encourage it. And that is straight from the community manager of Dungeon Alchemist. You have my permission. Anyone in our community can, I would gladly support and encourage you to share, videos of your campaigns with Dungeon Alchemist maps. Share your maps on the workshop, share streams of you creating content with Dungeon Alchemist. I love that stuff, and I will gladly support it. In fact, if you, tag me or tag us, our social media in any of your posts when you're going live, I will do my best to drop by and say hello if I have free time. Nice, Matthew. What did you learn today? What did you learn today, my friend? So let me teach you how I made this map. Lots of clever design went into it and a bit of order of operations. So one very, very important tool that I think everyone should know about is the collision toggle. It's in the object menu. When you disable collisions, several things happen. You can move objects closer together that normally wouldn't be able to. Notice the red kind of markers on the rocks. It's telling me I shouldn't put that there, right? When I disable collisions, I can merge them together to make like a custom new rock outcropping. When collisions are disabled, items can be scaled far below or above their normal restrictive capacity. And then lastly, you can raise objects up and down. So I use this to my advantage to create a multi-level structure. Objects can be moved up and down, they can be scaled, they have a lot of different properties that you can use to your advantage. So, first thing I did is I started on the base level. Let's pull apart this structure here. Oops. So every one of these levels is essentially the same kind of 5 pieces, a floor and the walls. I made sure that the floor pieces are essentially the same size and the wall pieces are essentially the same size. How I did that is I started with an object that's a stock object, Went in the object menu, went to structural, went to round, and we have these kind of neat round platforms. That's the base floor there. Notice the floor in there? So I found a point on the map where it snapped. That's exactly where this is a snapping point. You can do that by holding control if collisions are disabled, or if collisions are on, many objects snap automatically. But with collisions off, you can hold control and it'll snap into place. So I started with my first floor on a snap point. That's very crucial because then every floor above it can also snap into place. You just got to get the height right. So I started with that, snapped it into place, grabbed me a wall. In this case, it was this one. And I just put a wall on there. I held shift when I put it into place, rotated it with my mouse wheel. When you hold shift, it automatically duplicates it. So now I've got 4 walls, right? Put some lamps on it. This staircase is from the workshop, but pretty much everything else in here is a decoration. Oh, the hatch is from the workshop. Is a decoration that's stock in Dungeon Alchemist. So I decorated everything in the room, right? And then I essentially snapped it into place. Let's say this was going to be the next room, the one above it. I would make sure collisions are off. I'm going to raise this up a little bit. And then I'm going to hold control as I move it until it's lined up with it. You can see it's at the exact right alignment, but it's too high. So I'm going to just slide it into place. And boom, ready to go. That's my second floor, basically. Now keep in mind, this isn't ideal. This is probably best for the bottom floor because there's no hole in it. That's where I got the other floors from, was the workshop, collaboration with our community. So if you click the Steam Workshop tab, go to Browse Assets, click Browse Collections. There's tons of assets that have been shared by our community that are similarly themed. So like here's a bunch of houses shared by Asmodeus. Here's some Minecraft-style texture blocks shared by Sack. Let's go down a page or two. We're looking for a very particular set of assets. We look... Tower building assets by Swedish Cook. You can download this whole pack, 19 assets, for it's 78 megabytes. Very, very lightweight. You can download it in a single click, and it comes with all the banisters, the floor pieces. So a floor with a big center piece cut out on the side, different stair pieces that fit them, and of course a hatch. So I downloaded all those in a single pack, and that's how I started building this. I'd kind of start with another floor. I'd set that floor on the ground somewhere and kind of start building everything on top of it. And then when it was all done, snapped it into place. And each floor after that kind of followed the same methodology. I just had to make sure I picked kind of a new staircase and floor to give it some kind of uniqueness in each level. Took a while, but with a lot of patience and order of operations, I was able to build this. But anyone could do this in our community. These floors are available on the workshop, and not just that, anyone has the tools to do this. This isn't some advanced dev beta build. You just go into the collisions panel, turn off collisions. That allows you to raise objects up and down and merge them much closer together. So you have much more freedom of movement. Yeah, I've shared a lot of my maps, but I also keep a few of them private, mainly because they're like for personal campaigns, or some of them are just fun. For me, I don't necessarily see a reason for them to be shared. But I have published a few maps myself. There are community members who have published like hundreds of maps. I barely have like 50, I think, or 25, 50, something like that. Flactory, I don't know when you just tuned in or not, but we've been discussing how I did that for the last 5-10 minutes. Map count on the workshop these days is almost 11,100, 11,083. But Angel, DM Angel, if unfortunately you can't really search by name on the workshop through our browser as of yet. But if you're looking for a particular map, I could tell you the name of it and you could find it really easy. Oh, Angelo? Okay, gotcha. My bad. My bad. So I assumed it was Angel OC. This is one of my more recent maps that I just kind of made on a whim on one of our streams. DM Angelo C. I get it. But there's something like 11,100 maps and then 8,650 assets basically. The assets span all sorts of things like, corpses, things that we wouldn't normally add, aesthetics, animals that we haven't added, sci-fi and other themes. So you can do, cyberpunk, sci-fi, Fallout, all sorts of different aesthetics now thanks to workshop contributions, and maps that fit those themes are already starting to show up on the workshop daily. But these assets, keep in mind when you start grabbing assets from the workshop, some of them are very, very well optimized, others not so much. And when that happens, you may download an asset that is kind of poorly optimized. It can decrease your performance in Dungeon Alchemist. So we recommend only downloading assets as you need them, like when you grab a map and it recommends downloading them, or if you need them for a specific project, and then after removing them from your collection just so you don't decrease your performance over time by downloading every single asset. We get a lot of community members, they'll download hundreds of thousands of assets because they're free. Why not, right? But some of them are hundreds of megabytes and or animated and run and decrease your performance. Every one of those assets has to load into your RAM before DA loads. So depending on how much RAM you have, your performance might go down significantly. This map here, I call it Belly of the Beast. I was showing our community how to make what would be like the inside of like a Titan or a dragon or something as an adventure for your players. So if you look here, you have, kind of the esophagus. Maybe they got swallowed or, had to go in to rescue a teammate or get an item or like a MacGuffin or rescue some very famous or rich or whatever person. Get swallowed, go down the esophagus, end up in the stomach area here. Then down into the smaller intestine, larger intestine, and of course, that area. But it is something that anyone in our community could make, and it was done entirely in the skeletal plains biome, which has all these really morbid, kind of gross hellscape textures. Here we have just tons of skulls and bones, and other ones look more like tryptophobic, kind of fleshy, gross stuff. Pinocchio puppet, because he's in Monstroso. Or what's the name of the whale? Monstro? Monstroso's a villain in Venture Brothers. Holy cow, TikTok. Y'all are on fire today. Almost 2K likes. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Okay. So, today's stream really doesn't have much of a theme. I mean, I could be opening all sorts of maps and showcasing neat stuff. At the moment, I'm really just kind of having fun hanging out because it's a bonus stream. Hey, Ava, how are you doing? Thank you for the post the other day, for shouting us out. I appreciate you. Did any of you have any questions, concerns, suggestions, feedback? I've got my notepad so I can take notes and pass it on to the devs. Or if you have any questions or suggestions or feedback, I can provide real-time support while we're live. So think of it as like you're in class, class is in session. Professor Mac is teaching. I am wonderful, Ava. Thank you for asking. Much appreciated. This map is truly something special. Created and shared by Hieronymo and the winner of the Hellscape Dam Challenge. This map is called Gatehouse to the Caustic Hell. And it definitely feeds that feel. Never, Lex. In fact, we would never want to do that. It's very unethical and also a licensing nightmare. So our AI will only, our procedural gen AI only uses our own assets when filling up rooms and generating environments. AJ, were you the one that talked to me about the honeycomb walls? Right? Rob over on TikTok asks, hey, will we ever be able to rotate objects on the y-axis? That's a good question. More than likely in this next update, we'll be adding that feature. I don't have any footage or anything to share on it. It's something currently under development. Though what I've been told is that when you do that, it will kind of come with caveats. And by that I mean that the colliders for an object will likely be disabled when we enable the ability to rotate an object on any axis. So essentially what that means is you won't be able to stack objects on each other and rotate them, most likely. I'm not sure if you stack them first and rotate them, if they'll stay together, or if the objects that were stacked on top of it will just kind of sit still. So, unfortunately, there's no way for us to program the AI with your assets. Does that make sense, Lex? So we'd have to go in and program it by hand. I don't know of a way that we could influence it or allow you to add even your own local assets in that regard. So assets you add from, the workshop, or assets you add to your local collection through the asset importer will always be something you're going to have to place by hand, but, they are fully custom bespoke. How does this look, Ava? Is this a good view? Let me rotate it again and get a wider angle, actually. I like doing these kind of pan shots over the top. Pan shot! No, that's a fair question, Lex. It's a very fair question. Perfect. This is quite an amazing map, and it was made entirely within Dungeon Alchemist, other than a handful of assets from the workshop. Maxim, honestly, as far as modern assets or different aesthetics, cyberpunk, sci-fi, when, we do address that, will be after we have delivered on all of our remaining stretch goals from our Kickstarter, which is 5 major updates remaining, Kickstarter, updates. And then after we deliver on all those and leave early access, we'll start expanding and offering, or start, diving into the development of optional expansions for Dungeon Alchemist. These won't be like a season pass or, whatever, anything like that. Completely optional, and what they are is essentially, imagine, let's say you wanted modern, and it would come with, a pack, an expansion pack would come with, a couple thousand objects, a few dozen room types, couple environments, environmental biomes, probably, 10 to 12. And then, of course, it would all work within the Dungeon Alchemist tool set and AI. So essentially, these would be old school expansions that are optional, something that if you need it for your gameplay, you can get it. So imagine cyberpunk, sci-fi, those kind of things. But it's quite a ways from now, if anything. So I brought that up with our dev, and unfortunately, that doesn't seem like anything we could do in the foreseeable future. At least in this update, it would be kind of hard because we'd have to make a whole bunch of custom assets for it to go with that styling. But he kind of thought it was interesting for sure. Anyway, I did run it by him for sure. So just letting you know. For some reason on your note, I don't have your name. Every note in here, I have a date and a name, except for yours. I don't know. I am in cinematic already. You missed it, Atlam. Me and Ava have been talking for like 10 minutes. It's cool, bro. Get on my level, Atlam. So, because our community has asked us, hey, I would love to use your tool to make, maps for my other campaigns, my Call of Cthulhu campaigns, my Warhammer campaigns, my Starfinder campaigns, all these different settings that are outside of kind of our base fantasy aesthetic, right? And so essentially the devs have said that once we leave early access, they would like to address optional expansions. What order those will be in, which ones they'll be, remains to be seen. There's also talks about, developing some sort of, VTT light features or an accompanying tool that would go with Dungeon Alchemist and work, directly with it. This view is epic. Geronimo made an awesome map. Thank you so much, TikTok, for all the likes. We are now up to 2.3K. Much appreciated. It's cool, Atlam. I got your back. Okay, let's open up another map. Let's go to the browser, and we'll sort by most recent. Oh, that looks nice. Let's just scroll down before we just pick the first map we see. Oh man, it is windy outside. Hell freezes, or hell freezing, interesting. Now let's check that first one. Right? Haru, oh my gosh, how did I miss your message up there? I am so sorry. How are you? Ooh, that's very cool. They've got like the whole channels set up. Like canals where the water runs through. Hey, see you later, Ava. Thank you for dropping in. I appreciate you. You have a lovely evening. Very cool. This looks like probably the coolest lazy river ever. Like you just kind of get on a tube and just drift around. Oh, Haru, I'm sorry to hear that. So, AJ, in a sense, we already do kind of offer mods to Dungeon Alchemist. Because technically, every time you share an asset on the workshop, it is a mod for Dungeon Alchemist. Every single asset is technically modding Dungeon Alchemist. Maps are technically considered mods by the data standards of Steam too, but that's whatever. That being said, though, there are a few things on the horizon that we plan to offer to add, expanded tools for sharing several things. One is the ability to kind of group objects together, save the grouping of objects as like a prefab or a stamp. Internally, we call that a variant. We have the tool to do that already, and we're looking to incorporate a kind of more easy-to-use version in Dungeon Alchemist for our community to put groups of objects together, save those groups, and then maybe pass it between maps or stamp it around the same map. You've experienced objects like this in Dungeon Alchemist if they're pre-decorated, like objects like a table or a desk or a shelf. Notice when I press tab on this table, before I place it, if I press tab, it cycles through a bunch of pre-configurations that we like to call variants. So, hey Stohove, how you doing? Welcome back. So when you start cycling through these variants, you could see all these pre-configured. It wasn't the AI that decorated these. We decorated these preemptively, but then the AI picks one at random to put into the room when it uses this table. So it adds more diversity. Now, in that case, we want to give you the ability to make these yourself, right? To do so, I think would not only give you the ability to quickly, copy and paste things around a map or from map to map, but I also would love the ability to allow you to share it with community members, i.e. upload a variant to the workshop, and then somebody can download it. Now, tables is kind of thinking small. What if you pre-decorated a tent to have all the fixings of your party, or a campsite with everything they do at a long rest, or a boat or ship decorated with all of the stuff, cannons and sails and all that stuff, and then you save it, and then you can move it between maps because ships move, right? They travel, they sail. So the hope is to give you the ability to build and save variants and then upload those variants to the workshop to share with others if you choose. Okay, let me just assume, Stohove, you mean like maybe the room gets destroyed or something along those lines, so it looks nice in one setting, destroyed in another, or maybe you have an alternate dimension version of the room like the Upside Down. What I would do is essentially save the map, right? You got the master version of the map, and then go to File, Save As, okay? When you save as, you make a splintered version of the map, and then just make that new one be the illusion or whatever it is in the new map, and start editing that one. So you have the same layout and look to begin with, but then you can make changes appropriately. Does that make sense? Yeah, something like that, Haru, could potentially be the case. The ability to save like all the objects that you would put in a room, like a bathroom or a hotel room, where they are obviously a lot of the same, shape and style over and over again, or an inn or whatever. But then you just stamp the objects down in the room because you have them pre-configured. Because the bed and the end table, the lamp, all those things are all the objects, technically. So you could just have a blank room you generate that's the same shape, and then just stamp the objects, stamp the objects, stamp the objects. essentially you would have two scenes. One scene is the nice version of the map, and the other is the illusion or altered version. And you just teleport your players to the new scene when that happens. Me too, Haru. I think that's kind of the original kind of OG creative thing to do. I mean, literally, you could just take, if you have the collision toggle off, you could take rocks like these, push them together, and now you kind of have a new, interesting rock. It's a different rock outcropping from before, right? Whereas before it was like this kind of boring square boulder, now it's kind of an interesting new shape. I really enjoy that about the ability to merge objects together. Well, I have specific examples, so I like giving them. Another thing I'm hoping we add in the future, you know, the abstracts. I don't know if anyone's familiar with these or not. These are kind of blank green screen objects that you can insert images into to make like custom walls or floors or even objects and magic circles, you know, all sorts of stuff, right? Let me insert a magic circle into this to show you. So here I just kind of inserted a graphic into it, and now I have a magic circle I can stamp down on the ground. With that in mind, there's templates for these on our website where people can download the template for each object and then create an image that fits that object. So like here's the template for the disc I'm using. And I just made a PNG image where it's got a blank background, but the magic circle stuff around the edges and whatnot. Now, I'm hoping in our next update we'll give our community the ability to share abstract templates. It's just an image. It's a PNG or a JPEG, right? I'm hoping that on the workshop we'll have an abstract section where our community members can start sharing these templates that they make with each other, be similar to how you can share objects, so an art sharing section. Because stuff like that could be, you know, we could share art to put in the different art panels or these different abstract objects. It would be pretty fun. Anyway. Or things that could be... never mind. I don't want to say too much. Anyway, let's look at another teaser while we got a moment here. Anyone interested in seeing some teasers? One of the features in the next update I am most excited about is the decal tool. So this isn't available yet. It'll be in our next update launching Q2 of this year. Well, most likely Q2. And it's essentially a stamp tool that allows you to place images on top of objects, floors, walls to add more detail. So here I'm adding cracks to the kind of hovel floor that looks like it's already fallen apart and maybe has a basement. Now it feels like it's more decrepit and run down. There's like a spider nest in the corner. There's tally marks on the wall, scratch marks, stuff like that. So that's just scratching the surface of what you can do with this tool. And this is a new feature that will be available in our next update. This is going to be very fun. Very fun. Oh, over here in the corner, you can kind of get a little sneak peek of the floor tool. So this little guy in the top right under the camera stuff allows you to jump between levels. So if you have an underground floor or an above level floor, you press up, it goes up, down, it goes down. Alternatively, you can use the plus and minus keys to jump between floors. So there are hotkeys for it as well, which means you can program it to something like a Stream Deck or, you know, something of that nature and quickly jump between it that way too. It is very cool, Bella. How are you? Welcome back. Quick shout out to Bella, the community manager of Fantasy Grounds. Thank you for dropping by. Appreciate you. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. How's things been going since you guys adjusted to the new pricing model? Things are good. We're just busy getting ready for this next update. There's been a lot going on. So much new stuff in the next update. We're very excited for it. Including building underground. Spring sale, right? Are you guys on sale today? Or for the next week? Nice. Congratulations. We are as well, so that's kind of part of the reason I'm streaming today, doing a little bonus stream. AJ, I can't really speak to that, unfortunately. I'm not the artist extraordinaire on the team. I barely even have a stream face. In fact, recently I've come to find out that a lot of people told me that they watch the stream. Well, they don't, like, they participate in the stream by listening to it like a podcast. I did not know a lot of people in our community did that, but they do that when it's convenient for them, like at work or if they're driving or whatever, because they enjoy listening to the stream. So I was kind of shocked by this, and it was so surprising. I find it interesting and cool. I'm not upset or anything. It's fantastic. But it's good to know that, you know, if my streaming face ever wears out, I've got a face for radio at least, and a voice for it too. So I got a podcaster voice in the future if I need it. Hey everyone, this is Mac. You're turning into Dams During the Day. Let's build maps and talk about apps. It's basically the only Dungeon Alchemist podcast. So by default, it is the best. This clip is pretty cool because so many different things are in it. But one of the things that I think a lot of people don't really notice is the fact that we're blending in an underground environment rooms and caves. So your underground maps are going to get like insanely good, like the cave biome. There is a cave biome underneath this house. So it's essentially blending the forest biome with the cave biome in a very, very good way. It's going to be fantastic. This next update is going to be so good. Yeah, she's been hiding there the whole time. Just waiting, watching. Waiting for her moment to strike. Can't remember. I think it was Highland last. She made a stat block for Eliza that was like creepy. Like Eliza, when you're not looking at her, she moves towards you and stuff. So she has like double movement speed when you're not looking at her or something really creepy like that. Let's take a look at this city map. It's rather large. Eliza's cute. Eliza's evil. It depends on how you drop the wall, AJ. I'll show you in a moment. So if you're trying to use the wall tool over here on the left side, that wall tool is dependent on the room tool. So you have to have a room present to drop a wall. But if you use the object menu, there is a subsection of the object menu labeled structural objects. And in there are hundreds of stone, wood, metal objects that can work really well for city walls, castle walls, stuff like that. The traditional house walls are very thin and are more for like a simple structure than they would be for, say, a defensive structure. Once this map loads, I'll show you what I mean. Sorry, the Steam Workshop is a little slow today. 215 megabytes should not take 45 seconds at all. It should take about 4.5 seconds. Yeah, you heard me. So my wife has been like on this amazing baking kick lately, and she's been learning how to make all sorts of different breads, and she's learned how to make English muffins and bagels. So she's made like homemade jalapeno bagels, homemade like chive, bagels, homemade everything bagels. So we've been having lots of bagels. But this morning she was asking me if I was hungry before I started streaming, just before lunch, and I said, yeah, I would like a everything bagel sandwich. So she whipped me up a sandwich, it had some, let's see here, it had some like olive oil and some vinaigrette and some salami and some mayo and some cheese and some lettuce. No, she does have a starter, actually. And she's also working on a ginger bug. She's getting very, very, oh my, this is epic. Wow. She's getting very, very into all of that stuff. I just support it, Atlam been better at using platforms to create heights, but when I export to Foundry, the collision makes it so I have to trim a lot of walls. I'm trying to understand that. Let me see here. Do you mean that like your map is too high and it's cut off when you're in like an export? Some of it's cut off? Or can you clarify on that a little bit, AJ? Just want some clarification on that last statement. Ooh, this looks cool. Oh, I get what you're saying, Mosey. Okay, so when you start building multi-level structures, I'm just going to warn you right now, the exports aren't geared around it currently. You're doing everything by hand. It's a manual kind of bespoke process. So for instance, if you're putting in freestanding walls, the freestanding walls, if I'm not mistaken, they block line of sight by default, so they'll put in line data. And if it's stacked on top of another building, like you raised it up, and put it on top of another building, you're going to have double the line walls, the line of sight walls being blocked. What I would recommend is really, once you build a multi-level structure, pull it apart and export it level by level. Export it at the top level, and then export it at the levels below. But the problem is, no matter what, when you export, the JSON's going to include all that wall data. So your best bet will just probably be to just trim it down a little bit. You're going to have to make some adjustments right now when you do multi-level, because there's really no support for it, either in Dungeon Alchemist as a standard feature or in virtual tabletops either. So it is gonna. I understand what you're running into now, AJ. Is that what that is? What I mean, honestly, in currently my take on building multi-level, like I showed that tower earlier, which is one way to do it. But the best way for exports, building multi-level, is to have multiple maps. So say this is the first floor of this inn and tavern, right? Or whatever this house is. And then I wanted a second floor of it, right? I would file, save as, and then save the name of the map, City, Sign Ross, Tavern, Floor 2. And then in this map, I would just pretend floor 1 is floor 2 and make adjustments to it. So maybe there's this staircase going up here. On floor 2, you would see, a stair going down into the ground instead. And then you build up the spaces on top to be slightly different and different decoration, but it's roughly the same floor plan. So you could either do multiple maps. That's probably the smartest way to do it to avoid extra walls compounding on each other. Building it all in a single map is always going to run into that issue. All the compounding, like line of sight markers getting in trouble with each other and trying to compete. Does that make sense? At least until the new update. When the new update comes out, that'll be a thing of the past. No, it won't. Alrighty. Well, the next update will take care of that. For now, I mean, as I just stated, for this particular person's problem, it's not a good idea to build in that method. If you wanted to have a vaulted ceiling, you could easily build it up and have a vaulted space. It's quite possible now to build up a second level. It's just when you export it to your VTT of choice, you're going to run into a bit of headache here and there. That's all we're pointing out, because it generates wall lines for both, not just the base level. So kind of with this, I could start building a second floor or, vaulting it up if I wanted to. This isn't the same wall, just bear with me though. But you get the idea. I'm holding shift and control. Control snaps it into place. Shift auto duplicates it. So I just stacked up, pretty much a whole vaulted area above this in about 30 seconds. So you could pretend, there's a balcony in here, maybe doing something like wooden platforms would probably be the best way to go. That particular. Platform. There it is. These work great as like a second floor level. Or if you want a little bit smaller one, we could do this like it's like a balcony up there. So essentially, right now, I mean, anything where you want this is done by hand, and it will add some extra potential issues on your exports. It's just something to consider. The other back end is, things like Foundry, Roll20 don't offer necessarily fluid support for anything like this. So it's more immersive than anything. Hey, Mateus, welcome back. By the way, our next update, Pedro, will solve this issue. So we have an update coming very soon that'll include multi-level room generation and stuff like that. Let me show you an example of what you're trying to do, most likely. Like, here is an early alpha clip showing a vaulted ceiling with big pillars, staircases, balconies, or mezzanines, I guess you could call them, and an outdoor balcony. So all of this stuff will be possible in the next update. Which is essentially going to be launching most likely in Q2 of this year. So sometime in the next, probably 3.5 months or so. Another example. So you want kind of the traditional saloon where there's a balcony above, right? Kind of like this. Maybe not a sunken saloon, but the base level is the ground floor, and then there's like a balcony above, a staircase going up. But yeah, the idea I shared would work. It's quite possible to do it by hand now. I mean, there's dozens of examples of stuff like that on the workshop. That being said, it is a very bespoke and kind of a by hand process. Let's see if there was... I think just recently was a map that had like a multi-level on it. Where was it? It was pretty cool looking. I stopped trying to remember the names of maps a long time ago because it just is too much for my brain to try and remember. Darn it. There was a map in here that was like a... Oh, this one here. This one was pretty good. Can you trim them? Kind of, yeah. So if you go to the corner of your map, there's these little V-shaped chevron icons. And you can grab those and you can pull outward to make your map larger or drag inward to shrink it. So let's say you have a map and you want to cut it in half or cut it into quadrants. You could save the map as a master, cut it down to like 1/2 of the map or whatever, and then file save as name of map part 1, say, and then open the master map, cut it down to the other half. Kind of show you here. Yeah, Mateus, so we are, it's just a bonus stream because we were featured in the Steam spring sale. So I kind of wanted to just hang out, have fun. Not quite a bar, but a similar kind of aesthetic here. There's like a balcony and you could see over. And this was everything on the upper level is all done by hand. Excuse me. It is kind of, it does have that Viking longhouse vibe where like everyone can kind of hang out and chill. So if you see this corner here, right? Let's say I wanted this map to be cut in half. I could grab the corner and just drag it to like right there, for instance. And it cuts the map down in half. This is a bad example because it's so small. Previous map probably would have been a bit better for that. You can do the same thing to extend the map. By the way, this tells you the size of your map at a glance. So you can extend the map out, add a little exterior if you wanted to. Excuse me. I believe there's an under the balcony area that was done by hand too. Let's drop a token and get out. Yep, little storage area here and a kitchen. Something. Just a prep area. This is so well done. Such a beautiful map. Simple, but just elegant. There's another room behind that too. Yep, you can see it. Honestly, AJ, let me just add a little disclaimer though. If you're playing on a virtual tabletop, right? Are you playing on a VTT or are you playing in person? What's your status here? So I can understand your situation a little bit more. So this is information for everyone. Export quality in Dungeon Alchemist, the DPI you export is very important. And not just for quality purposes, but the size of the map. So when you play with a virtual tabletop, for instance, online play through Roll20, Fantasy Grounds, Foundry, and the like, they recommend that you use a lower DPI map. Why? Well, they recommend, first off, anywhere between 60 and around 100 DPI. Our base offering for exports for, say, Foundry is 72 DPI. Now, when you export, I really don't like the layout of this, and it says this is low quality. This should say standard VTT quality, because that is what they recommend. Okay, that is from their lips, from their wikis, from their support teams, what they recommend. These higher quality DPIs, these are meant for print or for localized play on like a TV tabletop. Gotcha. So, how big is the map, AJ? It's quite possible. For sure. I'll show you on a very large map that it kind of makes sense. Let me open up my Dwarven Prospector's Mind. So Open Book Fantasy, primarily the first person add-on is an immersive tool where you can, stream, walkthroughs, capture screenshots and clips, and you can use the cinematic camera in tandem to do alternative, flyovers and fly-throughs, chase scenes, all sorts of stuff. Now, these tools are designed to give you like handouts and immersive options for your players. Some people will record scenes to use them as long rests or to give a player when they ask for certain data or intel that they've, acquired maybe with their familiar or whatever. Now, I do understand it's kind of like, why are these here if you don't plan to offer any form of play? As far as multiplayer is concerned, I don't see that on the near horizon, at least, because we have a lot of commitments to our existing development schedule and Kickstarter supporters. Dungeon Alchemist was realized as a Kickstarter, and there was a bunch of goals, promises that we hit, and we have to deliver on those first before we can start accommodating to things like multiplayer, things we never even promised to offer. So Dungeon Alchemist isn't intended to support play. It's not intended to really, facilitate gameplay in its current state. But the devs have stated after we leave early access, they may consider offering, like a VTT Lite or a companion VTT app of some sort. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'm sorry, unfortunately for now, it's just kind of a all-inclusive, immersion and map-making tool. It's all that bread, I bet, right? For real. So in this map, let's say I wanted to cut it in half, right? Or into quarters. This map's 60 by 60, which means if I broke it down into a 30 by 30, that would be half, or like one corner of the map, right? First things first, make sure your quality is in low when you do this. Start breaking down a big map. It is going to really, really, really chew into your processing. I thought I saved it. Anyway, get down into low. Get down really far into the map, zoomed in as close as you can. so you're not rendering a ton of environment. You just kind of make a mental note of how much you want to remove of your map. So in this case, I'm going down to where it's 30 by 30. This is going to take a minute. Big maps, breaking them down, take far longer to break down than adding to a map. Now, I have just this corner of the map, right? Just this quadrant. I could go in, file save this is technically quadrant 2 from top down. I could control Z, undo it. It takes just as long to undo it. But once it's done, pretty much good to go for the next section. So each time you do it, you do a file save in between. So like Foundry, even at 72 DPI, the max map I think you can make is like 115 by 115. Because that's like the maximum resolution that Foundry can support with our 72 DPI. But if you plan on doing big maps, it's a good idea to kind of compartmentalize them into sections. But yeah, file save as, file save as, file save as. Thought I said that, but maybe I hiccuped when I did it. Or the mic didn't catch it. But notice here, these are each kind of sections of the map. And remember, always make a backup of your map before you start doing this kind of stuff. You know, in a separate location, you could save as the master map a backup or put one on the workshop so you have several backups of it. Y'all need to chill out. I'm almost positive I said it, but the mic just didn't catch it. It's okay. Everything is gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. Please don't believe. Thank you. I really enjoy that map. One of my favorites. And I made it, so I guess, you know, little humble brag. Didn't make this one, made the previous one. This one is dope, though. Made by Geronimo, one of our most prolific map-making creators and sharers in the community. Great example of like a multi-level structure. It's done as a sunken village deep in the desert, which would offer them more protection against, you know, the winds, sandstorms, the sun. Very neat concept here. Technically, what I was singing was not an AI-generated song. It was very much a very real song from the millennial era, made by a real band called Yellow Card. So, like, when I was growing up, like, all the alt-prog rock bands were trying to, like, one-up each other with new gimmicks. Like, one of them's like, hey, we're brother-sister and we're in a band together. Hey, our gimmick is we have a violinist in our band. Anyway. Oh, got you. Interesting, Stove. That's fun. And I feel like I grew up in the era just of excessive gimmicks. I think there was a previous era of gimmicks, the hairband kind of era, you know, the monster and hairband era, where you have like Kiss and stuff like that. But it kind of like dimmed down for a while, and then it went full crazy in the last like 20 years again. Some of the alt bands now, the way they are like, they look like metal bands from, or like hair bands from the 80s. It's gone full circle. But this map is, yeah, like hair bands are back. It's crazy. What's a begal? Hey, no wonder, no worries, Pedro. You're welcome back anytime. If you ever have any questions, concerns, suggestions, feedback, drop in the stream, let us know. We're here for you. You know, in fact, I'm probably going to wrap up myself here soon because we've been live a couple hours and it's technically my day off. Well, technically not my day off, but technically not a stream day. So, I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day. Oh, hey, I didn't realize Open Book that you followed a bit ago. And Dave Lundberg, thank you for that sub a bit ago. Much appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will be back probably tomorrow with another bonus stream. Because the Steam sale goes from today through the 20th. And I just figure I will be live a few times answering questions for new community members or incoming, people who are interested in Dungeon Alchemist but not sure what they're getting into. Yeah, Mosey, tomorrow will likely be a later stream. Later in the evening, early in the morning for our European viewers, but late night for our US viewers. Thinking I'll be on around... It just depends on how I'm feeling in the evening after dinner. I might grab a quick nap and then be on around like 10 to midnight my time, sometime in there. No, for sure, slotted time. It'll just happen when it happens, unfortunately. Hey, no wonder. Hey, no worries, Stohov. Sorry, not no wonder. No worries, Stohov. Appreciate you being here. You're always welcome. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out, being part of the very random bonus stream. If you are interested in the the Steam sale, make sure you take advantage of it while you can. It only lasts 7 days, so it ends on the 20th at 10 in the morning. If you already have a copy of Dungeon Alchemist, which I'm sure a lot of you do here, right? All fanboys and fangirls here. Fan people, as we should say. If you are already a fan of Dungeon Alchemist, already have a copy, be sure to let your friends and family know, let your table know for those aspiring DMs on your table. That way they can grab a copy at 20% off at a very good deal. It's the best price you'll really ever get Dungeon Alchemist at. Thank you so much for participating in the bonus stream. Bella, thank you for being here. It's always fun to have yourself around, and I appreciate the love and support from the Fantasy Grounds team. Oh my goodness, just looking at Oh, Francis, hey! Hey, Highland Lass. Yeah, we're doing a quick bonus stream because there's the sale right now, the Steam Spring Sale, and we're 20% off. So I've been streaming the last couple hours to kind of just kick off the sale, hang out, answer questions for any, potential new community members or anybody who may have just bought it and they're kind of just wanting to learn. I'm around for them. Appreciate you, everyone being here today for this bonus stream. We had a crazy turnout, pretty good turnout, considering that it was not a scheduled or planned stream in any capacity. Thank you again for being here. Appreciate you all. My name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is a map-making utility available on Steam. We have a free demo so you can try before you buy, test drive it on your system, make sure it runs, which allows you to try the forest biome and allows you to build a tavern in that forest. Little slice of the overall pie. The main program has, 10 plus biomes, hundreds of room types, thousands of objects, and access to our Steam Workshop repository of over 11,000 maps and 8,500 3D models to boost the stock collection of, 6,500 models, doubling it, essentially. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next time I give a damn. Mac out. Bye! See you later, everyone. AJ, I always do my best to help out. You have a wonderful evening. Thank you for being here. Bye. See you later, everyone. We're going to run a quick Dungeon Alchemist themed ad, and we're going to end the stream.
You stand before the long, dark road to the fabled realm of Goyak-Ta, and before...
Who do we see?
I don't know, a goblin.
I kill him!
But before she does, I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to know the goblin's name.
Hi, my name is Woblin.
Where do you live there, Woblin?
I don't think that's relevant.
Well, but I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to seek the goblin's abode.
Clever, find family, kill entire bloodline. I like it.
Seriously, we're doing this? Okay, well, won't be needing that anymore, will I?
Ever get caught by your players with your pants down? Dungeon Alchemist lets you create wonderful maps for any encounter in seconds.
Oh, Woblin, that's a very impressive cheese collection you've got there.
Yeah, it is quite impressive, yes. But you know what's more impressive? This map I have
To the fabled realm of Goyak-Ta. Please take it and leave. Close the door behind you.
Mr. Woblin, I cannot help but notice that you have a secret tunnel underneath your cabinet. Care to explain?
Download Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map maker, on Steam today.
See you later, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon, evening, night. Mac out. Bye.